recording. Okay, and welcome everyone. Welcome here to our situational English lesson together with teacher Alfredo. So today we are going to talk about emergency procedures. That will be a very, very interesting lesson, vocabulary lesson together with teacher Alfredo. So teacher, welcome. I'll change the camera and you can do the screen sharing if you want, no problem.
Yes, thank you again, teacher, and a good afternoon now, I should say, to everyone.
Yeah. Good afternoon, teacher.
I believe it's past 12 now.
Yes, it is.
Guys, for all of you. Okay. All right, guys. So as teacher mentioned, we're going to have a really interesting topic today for our situational English class. And we're going to be talking about emergency procedures, which is something that will always be useful for you. So if there's any kind of emergency or natural disaster that may happen, this is kind of a nice little guideline here that you could follow. So we're going to go over some useful terms, and we'll also be able to see the pictures as well. So let me start by sharing the screen with everybody. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yes. Yes, we can teach.
Okay, is the size okay?
Yes.
All right, good.
Okay. Do you want it bigger? A little bit bigger, teacher.
A little, okay. How about there?
Okay, can scroll right, please, a little bit. Yeah. Okay.
Is that good?
Yes.
Okay. All right, guys. So I know teacher already posted this in our WhatsApp group a little bit earlier today. So some of you may have seen this already, but of course, here it is once again, guys. So as I mentioned, of course, we'll be talking about emergency procedures. So let's start by reviewing some of the vocabulary. And the first thing here, as you can see, is before an emergency. Before an emergency. So this is a time for planning. This is a good time for planning because you're not in a rushed panic state. You have a clear mind, and you can sit down with the important people in your life, your family members, as we can see here in the picture, and you can develop all types of plans. So planning for an emergency, we can see here is letter A in our diagram. And let's start with number one. Number one, they mentioned the term meeting place. Meeting place. So sometimes, I'm sorry, teacher.
Let's repeat. Meeting place.
Meeting place. So sometimes we try, just in case we cannot come back to our house, we create sort of a secondary meeting place if there's a real emergency. So for example, maybe a few streets away, there's a Starbucks. And you could designate that to be your family meeting place. Say, oh, if there's an emergency and you come home and nobody is there, we will all be at Starbucks.
How do you say it in Spanish in Venezuela? Centros de acopio. Remember? Los centros de acopio. ¿Se acuerdan de eso? Yeah, sorry, teacher. Thanks.
Oh, no problem. No problem, teacher. So that's very important sometimes, guys, because just in case you can't get back to your house, there might be some different reasons why. You'll designate a secondary meeting place, usually nearby. Okay. The second, number two, is making contact with someone who's out of state. So as just to kind of, sometimes we want a relative or a close friend who's not in the same immediate area where we are, just for safety reasons. So if our area is really affected by something bad, flooding, for example, and you might have a relative who's living in another state far away, that would be a good out-of-state contact. And so that's number two, we always want to develop an out-of-state contact. All right. The next one we can see in the picture here, number three. So what do we see in the picture? Can anybody tell me? Number three is escape route. Let's pronounce that.
Escape route.
Escape route.
Right? It's not route?
Maybe it's by preference.
Okay, both. Pueden ser pronunciaciones.
But usually, I think more traditionally, it's route.
Route? Wow.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, but a lot of the people with the different, like in New York, they're gonna say, because they have that strong New York accent, so they'll say probably route.
Route.
But the actual textbook English, normally it's route. Route. So escape route, guys. So what do we see in the picture here for number three?
Two people are on the house roof.
Two people are on the
House roof.
On the house roof. Very good. Very good. So for example, maybe in this picture, maybe there was some bad flooding.
Yeah, looks like it.
That happened, remember, in Louisiana, in New Orleans, many, many years ago with, I think, after Hurricane Katrina. If some of you guys may remember that. And you could see people standing on their rooftops, trying to wave to any of the helicopters or something that, hey, we need help here. So you also have to have an escape route. Even when you're living in your house, you have to be prepared that you might not be able to go out the front door. So in this case, we could see that the people now they left their house through the roof. Okay, so that's escape route. Number four, guys, is gas shut-off valve. Let's pronounce that, guys. Gas shut-off.
Gas shut-off
Valve.
Shut-off valve. Valve.
And this gas shut-off valve.
Valve.
Valve. V-A-L-V. Yeah. Gas shut-off valve. And this is very, very important. So if you own a house you should know where your gas shutoff valve is. In the event of any kind of emergency, you can use a wrench and you can shut it off. So does everybody know? If you own a house, do you know where your gas shutoff valve is?
No, I don't. Oh my goodness, that's good. That's good to know.
You have to, actually there's two. There's the gas shutoff valve, and there's also the one for your main line for your water.
That's true. On the first time, my husband does usually, because you know the pipe can be frozen,
Right.
and he
Yeah.
I mean water out of the bubble on the street.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know
So-
where they are.
Yeah, I know here in the example,
Hmm?
I pay to this.
You pay for that? You,
Se dice así, I pay to this. Yo pago para eso.
I pay for that.
Por that.
Yeah, but we should know where they are, you know?
you should
The
know.
gas.
You should know.
Tú sabes, Raymond?
They're usually in
I
some
don't know where
part.
they are.
It might be in your garage area,
The garage area
or it
somewhere.
might be along the side of your house.
Yeah,
You know, in New York, a lot of the homes, they have basements. So in New York, usually you'll find those things in the basement.
When we
But-
travel, my husband does usually, you know, because
Uh-huh.
we go to Mexico for a
so,
couple of weeks, you know, and we can make sure, you know.
Right. See, in
You have
that
to-
case, if you're going to be gone,
Yeah,
if you're going to
Yeah.
be gone for months, sometimes it's a good idea to shut these things off. So that while you're away for so long, nothing can happen. Because if you're away for so long, there's some kind of emergency. You might have a big problem later if no one is watching your house.
that's true.
So you have to know where your shut-off valves are for the gas and for the water. This is very important, guys. Okay. So that's number 4. Number 5 is pretty clear. Evacuation route.
Mhm.
Evacuation route.
No.
So again, the word route. And we can see a picture here. It looks like of the highway, right? So sometimes if there's a hurricane, for example, that's coming and you have to get out of town, you're going to plan your route in advance. How are you going to get out of town fast? So you say, oh, you know, okay, we're gonna get on the 10 and whatever highway you guys are using. So you have to have this escape route planned already. Yeah, so that's
I'm sorry. At my job, they have some emergency procedures, some rules
mhm.
when hurricanes are coming, you know, in a big map, which one
Right.
is the route more easy to go out? Which one
Yes,
is easy, because everyone is go out when that happens.
exactly. So you
Important to-
you don't want to get caught stuck in a big traffic jam.
Yeah,
So you're going to look for what we call a secondary route,
yeah.
a route that most people won't use. They won't think about it first.
Which one route is less busy, you know, it's safe
Right.
to-
Exactly. So these are some important things that we can see here in our at the top of our diagram here, guys, when we think about things that we should prepare for before an emergency. So, okay, so let's go down a little bit. And now we're talking a little bit about supplies now, as we can see in the pictures, guys. So here, what are some things that you can see in this picture?
Different things we need in case something emergency, no? Some food, batteries, cash money, personal paper, clothes, blankets.
Very good. A first aid.
Teacher, please make questions one by one to the students, because otherwise there will be only one student talking.
Oh, okay,
So,
teacher.
yeah, choose one by one and make questions so you can interact with the students.
Sure.
Thank you, teacher. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. All right, guys. So looking at this picture, Erica, could you tell me maybe one or two things that you see, one or two items you see here?
Okay, I see water, clothes, flashlight,
Okay, just a few.
Just a
Just
few.
Just a few. So you mentioned the flashlight, you mentioned, did you say batteries?
Batteries. Batteries are important.
Yes.
Flashlight.
Yes, why, can anybody tell me, Valeria, could you tell me why are batteries important? And why is a flashlight important in the event of an emergency?
Mhm. Why are they important? Mhm.
Any reason why? The flashlight and the batteries, why are they so important? But more specifically, why? Because
usually the power out, so we need the flashlight with batteries, you know.
That's it. Because oftentimes when there's these types of emergency, one of the first things that happens is we lose power. So if you lose power, your traditional electric, everything doesn't work. So now it's so important to have the flashlight with batteries, and you'll be able to move around and see things. So this is probably almost at the top of the list, guys, of things to have, is, that flashlight, maybe certainly more than one, with enough batteries.
Important. Very important.
Ramondo,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that number 18,
18, yeah.
the
You're
first
18.
aid kit, right? Because if you get hurt, or someone in your family, so you have all of the things necessary to treat maybe a small kind of injury. Ramondo, right? What normally do you find, Ramondo, inside the first aid kit?
And the cook and the ¿cómo se dice cuchillo?
Knife.
And the knife and the cook.
Some bandages.
Yeah.
Bandages.
Okay. Yeah.
There's usually some kind of cream, right, to treat an injury. Maybe an antibiotic,
So,
gauze. If you guys may know that word, gauze. Usually you'll see some gauze tape inside that first aid kit. Yeah, so these items are probably near the top. That first aid kit, the flashlight with batteries, that you can't do much better than that to start. All right. Zoila, why do you think it's important that we also have matches? Number 16.
Matches.
Number
Okay.
6.
It's very important those things, matches, because usually the gas, we haven't,
Candles.
power, or less,
Right.
less power, and we can make a fire for cook or
Exactly.
something,
Exactly. So if ever you have to leave your house and now you're in a place and maybe you're in some kind of campsite, it's important to have matches to be able to start a fire. So this is also important. Matches, number 16, guys. All right. What about number 8? Number 8, Luzmila, what about why do you think a can opener is important?
Opener. Can opener. En la
Can opener.
tapador decimos, ¿no es? No.
Because because we have
Food can,
because we have food can. We need oven to open. We need oven food. Food court.
So
Okay.
yes, so now we also, if you have a can opener, of course, mostly this is to open canned food. So this is canned food is number 9.
9.
So sometimes in emergencies, the only food that we really have that we can quickly bring with us is canned food.
Yeah.
Right? Like anything in a can. You can bring it but how are you going to open it? So that's why you need the can open. 8 and 9. 8 and 9. 8, the can opener, and then number 9, canned food. Canned food. Okay. Rita, what about why do you think it's important to have warm clothes?
In case,
Warm clothes.
yeah, in case of flooding, we can change our clothes for warm clothes, or in case of to cold outside.
That's right. So in case the weather changes suddenly,
Mhm.
you don't want to be caught outside with and feel very, very cold. So as we can see here in number 6, we have some pictures of a sweater.
Mhm.
Excuse me. And that's
Here in
why
Texas, here in Texas is important. The weather change very often. I have some warm clothes in my car.
yeah, that's a
Okay.
good idea, right? So do a lot of you, do you keep, for example, some warm clothes in your car?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, teacher, when we would be talking sometimes over the different months, and
Mhm.
you would tell me how the weather can fluctuate.
Mhm.
Sometimes it could be some days and nights it's cold, and I think now you guys are experiencing more of the traditional warmer spring weather now.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, of course, this is also very, very important. Catherine, what about, why do you think that it's important that we should have copies of our ID and credit cards? This is number 19.
Who do you make a question to?
Oh, to Catherine. I'm not sure.
Catherine, are you online? Are you there, Catherine?
Yes, teacher.
Oh, good. Did you hear my question, Catherine?
Catherine, teacher,
I no understanding.
why is important to
I
have
would-
copies?
Mhm.
Can you repeat the question, teacher?
Sure, teacher. Catherine, I was asking why, I'm talking about item number 19. So why is it important for us to have copies of our ID and credit cards?
In case they are important. Can anybody answer?
Any?
To pay any emergency.
Yeah, but you make copies, remember, you make copies. Why?
Okay. The originals get lost.
Yeah, in
Yes.
case they get, en caso se te pierdan las originales.
Very good. So this is
Mhm.
also the same for number 20. Number 20, copies of important papers. Copies of important papers. So if there's some kind of emergency, you have to quickly leave your house. Of course, you also want to have most of the important papers, at least the copies, with you. Because maybe we don't know what might happen later. So if there's damage to your house, so that's why it's important to make copies of important documents. Guys, so that's 19 and 20, guys. All right. Were there any questions about this section? Or did anyone have any other thoughts about any of the other items?
We are fine, teacher.
You're good, teacher. All right. All right, let's continue then.
Don't have any questions. Very good.
And now we've reached the part about what happens during and
This is good.
emergence.
Okay, verbos.
We talked about before, we talked about the planning, we talked about a lot of the items that you should prepare. But now this is during the actual emergency. So I think we have letters here now. So letter C is watch the weather. Let's repeat that, guys. Watch the weather.
Watch the weather.
What, Erica, what do you see in the picture here for letter C? Could you tell me what you see?
He watched the weather in this moment.
And what does he see?
The weather is
Yo
It's
tengo una pregunta para todos. I have a question to all of you. How do you watch the weather every day? How do you watch the weather? Yo creo que eso es parte de la cultura, de nuestros hábitos de cultura here in the United States, in this country, right? Yeah, because we are not living in a tropical country. We're not living in Venezuela, Colombia, Mexico anymore. Yeah, in our countries, the temperatures, the weather is very stable, ¿cierto? Son países tropicales. Las condiciones climáticas en nuestros países son muy estables, ¿ok? Son países tropicales. Pero aquí en el norte, en the United States, okay, mira hoy, ¿ves? It's raining. Okay, amaneció bien. So, estas cosas tenemos que estar pendientes. So, no sé, yo no sé si muchos de ustedes tienen la costumbre of esta palabra watch the weather. ¿Cómo ustedes hacen ese watching? How do you watch the weather every day? ¿Cómo, qué hacen ustedes?
on the forecast.
Every day. You see it on your phone. What do you do in your phone? ¿Qué haces en el phone? What do you do in your phone? On your phone. App? You check the app? Okay, the weather app. Okay. Luzmila? Okay, watch it on TV. Zoila?
Sometimes I saw the TV news, or sometimes go out and come back and.
You open the door?
Yes.
Maybe, why not? Rita, what do you do?
Yeah, the same. I watch my cell phone, the
The
forecast.
Raimundo?
Alexa,
that's what I do. That's what I do. Alexa, buenísima. Alexa,
Technology now.
Alexa, yeah, Valeria and Catherine, what do you do? Alexa is very good. Alexa, how's
But they never say the truth. Ne-
They're
That's what I
inaccurate.
do. They are not accurate 100%.
Inaccurate, Rita.
They are not accurate.
Wow.
Accurate, que acertan, pues que sean exactos. Very good. Thank you, teacher. You can...
Thank you. So, you know, guys, speaking about this, when in the United States, most of when we watch the news, you're always going to find a segment, a part that talks about the traffic and talks about the weather, right? Do you notice that when you watch the news, they'll tell you some of the stories happening, but then there's also the part about what's happening with traffic and then what's happening with the weather. So I think a lot of Americans, they're used to getting their information when we talk about this first one here, watch the weather. they're used to getting it from the news because you'll always find it,
The radio. Yeah, I can.
especially in the morning. You turn on the news in the morning, every few minutes they're giving you an update, more about the traffic, but sometimes also about the weather,
Yeah.
because they're trying to help you out with your day.
Right now it's raining in the cave.
It's raining right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So in this
Because
picture,
I heard to radio.
Mhm. Listen to the radio, listen.
the radio is also good. Is also good. But again, the technology, it's made it so easy now. So you could ask Alexa or whatever other name it is, and they'll tell you what the weather's like or what traffic's like. So in this picture here, letter C, as you can see the man, he looks like he's on a type of porch or balcony. And he's looking out, right? And the trees are kind of blowing, right?
Yeah, it's windy.
It's windy. So like maybe these look like palm trees to me. And they're blowing in the wind, they're swaying. They're swaying.
Rain is coming.
Yeah, it kind of makes me think that maybe more of like a hurricane. So that's what I see in this picture, guys. Letter C, because the trees are blowing kind of strong. So either it's rain or the strong winds are telling us that something is coming.
Mhm.
So okay, guys. So that's letter C. And I think we also in our discussion we also talked about D. So D is pay attention to warnings. Pay attention to warnings. So what can we see? What can we see here in the picture, Valeria? For letter D.
D or E?
D. D. What's the words that we see written there for letter D? Kind of coming out.
Hurricane.
Hurricane watch.
Hurricane watch.
Hurricane watch. So you look at letter D. You see there's looks like on the wall there's a television, right?
Yeah.
And there's a picture of one part of the United States. Can anybody tell me what part that is?
Florida. Like
Florida.
Yeah.
That's Florida. So again, I know in Katy and Houston, you guys don't usually get the hurricanes, but down in southern Florida, they do.
Sure.
So Louisiana, yeah, but southern Florida, wow, they get it a lot. So that's what we see here in this picture. That's there when we say pay attention to warnings. So they're telling you, hey, there's a hurricane that's coming. It's going to arrive in the next 24 to 48 hours. So it's up to you to decide what you want to do. If you want to stay or if you want to make, again, we talked earlier about making plans. if you want to make plans to leave. And sometimes they use the word evacuate. Can anybody tell me what does the word evacuate mean?
Evacuate.
Left the house.
Evacuate. What does it mean?
Left the house.
Yes.
Leaving.
Yeah. It's to leave wherever you are.
Running. Escaping.
They might even tell you that during the warning. They'll say, hey,
Screaming.
if you're in this area, it's mandatory now. You must evacuate because they know how dangerous it can be. So, yeah, these examples here, so far we've been talking more about hurricanes because that's the these are the examples that they've been giving us. But we also have other. Can anybody tell me what are some other types of natural disasters? Raimundo, could you tell me a few others?
Okay, teacher?
What are some, besides the hurricane, what are some other types of natural disasters?
Huracán. And
So the hurricane, but what are some other types of natural disasters?
I have here,
Earthquake.
Earthquake.
Quake.
earthquake,
Yes,
quake, or
that's one.
snow, when it's pretty frozen, weather.
Maybe a blizzard. Do you guys know what the word blizzard?
Blizzard.
Does anybody know what a blizzard is?
No.
A blizzard is a very strong and intense snowstorm.
Oh, okay.
Avalanche. Like
Yeah,
avalanche.
like an avalanche.
Avalanche.
So I know in many traditionally in some parts of the US we don't you're too far south. But in the northern parts where winter is a little bit more severe, now they'll be talking about a blizzard.
In Alaska, for example.
Yeah, even upstate New York, Chicago,
Colorado.
Colorado, any of the states near Canada. They get really bad weather. North Dakota, Minnesota.
Teacher, how do you call before the earthquake when do you say shaking? Shake?
Yes, you could. Sometimes they use the word tremor. Teacher.
Yeah.
Tremor.
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 There was a tremor.
A tremor.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I lived in LA,
Tremor.
I got quite used to the earthquakes.
Can you type it on the chat? Tremor.
Oh, sure.
Como
Sure, teacher.
temblor. Para poner. Yeah. Oh, tremor. Tremor. Yeah. Temblor.
A tremor.
Vale, shake. It's tremor. No, se dice tremor. No se dice shaking.
Yeah.
Temblar.
But of course people will also they'll say they felt some shaking.
Shake.
Se está moviendo.
Yeah. Pero el shake, bueno, yo no sé, ese shaking
But what-
para mí en mi pueblo otra cosa.
But
Chacacha.
has anybody experienced an earthquake?
No, but no, ¿has
No.
experimentado un terremoto?
Ya tengo.
Thanks God.
No, nobody.
No.
No.
You
No.
guys are lucky. Very, very
Thank
lucky.
you.
Have you, teacher?
Oh, yes, because I lived in LA for so long, teacher.
Oh.
The San Andreas Fault runs pretty much throughout the state of California.
Yeah.
Let me type that here in the chat.
Por eso estamos como que no tenemos.
La estoy practicando.
So I always am afraid the most of earthquakes because we don't have any advance warning.
Mhm.
Not like the other types of natural disasters. They can tell you in advance if the hurricane is coming, if there's flooding coming, even fire. But the earthquake,
No, you don't know when.
you don't know when.
Yeah.
You don't know when it's going to strike.
No when, no what time, no nothing.
That's the
You-
one that scares
Only
me.
it show up and that's it.
Yep. Yep. So that's the one that really worries me. But other types of, other types of natural disasters, we talked about the hurricane, the earthquake, maybe flooding also, fire,
Yes.
like in Northern California, every summer, they have forest fires,
Mm.
blizzards. In other parts of the central states, they don't use the word hurricane, but they'll use the word tornado.
Oh, that's so.
Oklahoma, probably north of where you guys are in Texas, going up a little bit. There, Kansas, they have a lot of, that's tornado country there. Guys, so these are just some other names of some other types of natural disasters, guys. Okay, so that was letter C and D. Letter E, I think, is pretty self-explanatory, that you should always try to remain calm whenever there's any kind of emergency. Because if you get nervous and you panic, I think it affects
That's true.
the other people around you. They get nervous too.
Yeah.
So if you're an adult, you have a family, and you want to always try to remain calm. So that's letter E. So that one I think is pretty clear, guys. Letter F is follow directions. Follow directions. So again, they might tell you something that you're going to have to do. They might tell you to evacuate. They might, here in the picture, they say, go to a shelter. And then in letter H, you can see the picture there of a place that's designated as a shelter.
It's shelter.
Shelter.
Shelter. It's shelter.
shelter. So has anybody, did you ever, during any kind of emergency, did you ever have to go to a shelter?
No.
No.
Shelter. No, thanks God.
Oh, you guys again are very lucky.
Have you, teacher?
No, I haven't either, teacher.
No, okay.
I haven't, but you know, whenever there's a big natural disaster, it's common. The hurricane, even the tornado, it can wipe out a lot of a big area. You know, the homes are totally gone, totally destroyed. And the people now have no place to live. So they have to go to a kind of a designated area. They usually designate certain areas during a natural disaster, excuse me. They designate certain areas as shelters.
School.
Yeah.
Usually schools are shelters.
You're right. You're right. In many cases, they're schools because they're large. That's right.
I experienced, teacher, when happened what is the name? Harvey. Hurricane.
Harvey.
Hurricane.
Yeah.
I think 5 years ago.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Say again.
I had an experience about hurricane 5 years ago. And,
What was the name?
Harvey.
Harvey.
Was this in Florida?
No,
Yeah.
in Houston.
Houston.
Oh.
Houston.
In Houston, okay.
Here in Houston, and my area flooded. I was
Flooded.
working when that's happening, but my husband was at home, and the water
Came up.
Came up.
and the flight came to rescue him because he cannot to go out because all my area was flooded.
Wow.
And then we cannot to live at home for 3 months. And we weren't, the government decided a hotel for live few months and was a hard time for us.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I was working and I didn't see my husband for 4 days. I had to stay at my job for 3 days. 3-4 days. Yeah.
So this was a very difficult time for you.
Yes. And I was pregnant. I was 2 months pregnant.
Wow.
Oh my good. Wow. So it's good. No problems with your baby.
No. Thanks. Thanks God. Nah.
Yeah.
It's good, But
Excellent.
what a hard time. And those things remind me what we have to do. We have to prepare, before happen, hurricanes, tornadoes, or whatever. And I'm not prepared, but it's very good reviews, for me because we don't know what day is gonna be happen something.
Exactly. So preparation is the key.
Yeah.
That's preparation. So you use the time now to prepare and plan everything. So in the event of the emergency, you're not panicked. You've already got everything, you have everything prepared already. And so time is your biggest, we'd say time is your biggest ally right now. Time is on your side.
Mhm.
because you can plan. So, okay. I said, so there's only one other part here, of course. And now this is after the emergency. After an emergency. So remember earlier, we talked about our out-of-state contacts. And this is letter L. So Rita, what do you think? What do we do? What do we do after the emergency with our out-of-state contacts?
Yeah, she's calling her mom and she telling her we are okay.
Right. You know, sometimes Facebook, they have a lot of these posts now, right? People, you can mark yourself safe,
Ah, yeah.
right? There's some kind of emergency, disaster, and people they mark themselves safe. So they're
Mhm.
letting all of their friends and family know that even though they may hear stories on the news, that they're okay. So I think this is also the more modern way when we think of social media.
Mhm.
Okay. Letter M is clean up debris.
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 Debris. Looks like a French word.
Yeah, originally it is, teacher.
Oh, okay.
You're right, but here we don't pronounce the S. The S is
Okay.
silent.
Debris.
So it would just be debris, right?
Escombros. Debris. Es francesa. Es
So
como croissant. Fiancé.
what do you see in this picture in letter M, Zoila?
The roof, everything is broken.
Everything is broken. Only, he's pick the trash up. He's cleaning the grass. He's cleaning up everything.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So that's, of course, now the disaster has passed by. Let's say, for example, if it was a hurricane, it's already left our area, but now we have to deal with all of the debris, damage, and debris. So you could see the side of the guy's house, right? There are some parts that are falling off, and he's cleaning up his front yard. So, of course, you're going to do this after the emergency. And the last one is inspect utilities.
Utilities.
So remember we talked earlier about the different valves, the shutoff valves?
Yeah.
So now you want to check. You want to make sure that nothing was damaged. Or if you have turned some of the valves off, if it's safe, now you'll turn the valves back on again. So you'll have gas, you'll have water. If your electric is okay. So those are the important things that we would do after an emergency.
Perfect, teacher. Perfect.
And we have a couple of things here at the bottom, guys, to practice our English is the different ways to say that we're okay. If you guys can see that.
I'm fine.
I'm fine.
I'm fine.
We'll repeat after you, teacher. I'm fine.
I'm fine.
I'm fine.
We're okay here.
We are okay here.
Everything's under control.
Everything's under control.
And well, going back a little bit earlier when we need help. So we
Yeah.
need help.
We need help. We need help.
We need help.
Like, remember the picture of the two people on the roof?
Mhm. Yeah.
Help.
We need
¿Cómo se dice auxilio en inglés? ¡Auxilio!
we need help.
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 We need help.
Yeah.
I remember during Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, you could see all the people on the roof.
Yeah. Help.
Really bad situation.
Next teacher, someone is hurt.
Someone is hurt.
What is hurt?
Next. I'm
I'm injured. Please.
injured.
Injured.
I'm injured. Please get help.
Please get help. I'm injured.
Role play. Prepare for an emergency. Letter A. Can you read it, teacher?
Sure. They just issued a hurricane warning.
They just issued a hurricane warning.
And letter B, okay, we need to stay calm and follow directions.
And follow directions.
Okay.
Stay calm and follow directions.
And what do we need to do first?
What do we need to do first? What do we need to do first? Thank you, teacher. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Very nice.
So much.
Very good vocabulary practice lesson. Thank you very
Yes,
much, teacher.
I
I
hope
hope-
everybody enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, thank you.
Indeed. You can stop the recording, teacher. Thank you.
Sure, teacher. Let me just get back to my